Today, we want to look at essential skills for social workers. We appreciate that social workers, or rather, social work is a specialization, and social workers have specific duties and responsibilities to perform. The performance of such duties and responsibilities demands of social workers to possess and exercise certain skills if they are to succeed in the delivery of services to vulnerable populations. We want to therefore look at essential skills for social workers. There are several skills that social workers need to possess and to exercise from time to time. One of them is called communication skills. Social workers communicate with different people. For example, they communicate with their clients, they communicate with the co-workers, they communicate with the care providers, they communicate with officials, government officials, and of course, all these people, they come from different professional and cultural backgrounds. The way you communicate with one set of individuals differs markedly from another set, of course, based on their professional and cultural backgrounds. It's therefore essential for social workers to have the ability to communicate clearly and appropriately with people of different background. This includes adopting tone, body language, and writing style that accommodates different audiences within different settings, so that not all the time you use the same tone, not all the time you use the same body language, and not all the time you use the same sets of writing style. You change it depending on the circumstances that you find yourself in. Social workers must also have strong written communication. This is because from time to time they're required to write reports about what they're doing, interpret information given to them, and also highlight issues in a manner that informs policy so that appropriate interventions can be made by different relevant bodies. Social workers should therefore possess strong active listening. You have to listen because without listening, it becomes impossible for one to understand what clients, what professionals, and what co-workers want or are going through. They also must have strong verbal as well as non-verbal communication because these help in terms of emphasizing, in terms of exploring, and in terms of imploring clients to communicate, professionals to communicate, and to bring to light the issues that they have. They must also have strong written documentation skills, because, like you have said, most of the issues have to be put down for future reference and also for appropriate action by other organizations or other bodies in future. So communication is essential to social workers. Another important skill that pervades the social work profession is what we call empathy. By empathy, we mean the ability of an individual to identify with another person's situation on an intellectual and emotional level so that they feel understood and recognized. At sometimes, the issues people go through, we need to put ourselves in their situation. to put ourselves in their shoes. And in doing so, it does not only enable us to understand the issues better, but it also enables the people going through such things that indeed we understand and we recognize what they're going through. Empathy helps social workers to build strong relationships by forming genuine connections with their clients and also in locating solutions that can improve people's lives in tangible ways. If we don't empathize, it becomes difficult for us to understand what we're going through. It becomes difficult for us, and failure to understand what we go through means that we cannot come up with solutions that best fit people's situations. So empathy is critical, but empathy also helps in building trust between social workers and their clients so that they can tackle challenges together. While without empathy, people's problems can start to feel like irritants rather than opportunities for positive solutions. What we mean here is that if we don't empathize with people, it is difficult for us to understand that what people are going through are indeed problems that requires our attention, and that's our duty to help them overcome those problems. Instead, we're likely to perceive such people as being more stubborn and therefore not deserving the kind of attention and solutions that we may come up with. Social workers can also develop empathy in several ways, including learning about the challenges of social issues like poverty, mental illness, and substance abuse. Indeed, empathy is not inborn. For some, it is inborn. For others, it is inculcated in us through our socialization at the family level and also what we go through in the industry as a profession and also what we observe in society. For instance, understanding the plight of poor people, the plight of individuals with mental cases, and also the plight of individuals that are addicted to substances and alcohol. All these can enable us to develop empathetic skills. Social workers can also develop empathy by cultivating curiosity about each individual they serve, by asking good questions and fostering meaningful relationships outside of work. So empathy is critical for people to understand. It's about putting ourselves in the situation of the individuals that we are trying to help. And in doing so, we develop trust, we develop emotional connection, and the kind of interventions that we give forward can have a better result. The other important skills that social workers must have is what we call critical thinking. And critical thinking is a kind of thinking that involves questioning, analyzing, interpreting, and evaluating before making judgment about what is read, what is heard, what is said, or what is written. In other words, whatever we see something, we need to question, we need to analyze, we need to give appropriate interpretation as well as evaluation. And in doing so, we are able to make a better judgment. Social workers must therefore think logically, analytically, and creatively in order to gauge the strengths and weaknesses of different approaches to situations or to solutions to clients' issues. Clients may have problems that requires some form of intervention, but we must, before we administer any intervention, we must carefully and logically analyze it so that we are able to understand what are the strengths and weaknesses that go with every solution that we're suggesting. A solution whose weaknesses outweighs the strengths obviously might not bring the desired results. And in that case, therefore, it could be discarded. And therefore, having strong critical skills such as questioning, metacognition, observation, and reasoning can help social workers make informed decisions that help their clients. Again, it should be important to understand here that a solution that has worked on one client or that has worked in one region might not exactly work in another person. That is because people differ in their circumstances and in their ability to comprehend and cope with issues. That is why social workers are required to think critically so that they do not wholesomely suggest or prescribe solutions that have worked elsewhere on the assumption that they will also work to other individuals. We must understand individual differences, and doing so enables social workers to tailor-make solutions that fit different clients. Social workers can help develop critical thinking skills by cultivating awareness of their mental processes in order to question underlying assumptions. In other words, at all times, social workers are required not to accept things at face value. They need to dig deeper. They need to look at issues from different perspectives. And this kind of activities, we're saying they can develop it over the years and in the course of their profession so that as they continue to work, to meet different cases, to be in different situations, they are able to continuously develop and appraise their critical thinking skills. Social workers can also develop critical thinking skills by asking open-ended questions rather than yes or no questions and integrating many kinds of data into decision-making processes. In other words, open-ended questions permits social workers to think outside the box and to look at things from unique and diverse angles. And that way, we are able to advance our skills in the area of in the area of critical thinking. The other important skill that social workers are required to have is what we call the cultural competence. Cultural competence refers to the ability to recognize and respect people based on the diversity of their cultures and backgrounds. And cultural competence is an essential skill for social workers because they meet clients from different socioeconomic, ethnic, and even social backgrounds. Cultural competence enables social workers truthfully engage, rather fruitfully engage, and interact with a diverse range of individuals. And in doing so, it enables them to understand people based on their cultures, based on their background, and based on their circumstances. It also helps social workers to remain objective in their judgments and focus on finding actionable solutions that will enrich the lives of the people. Again, a sincere sense of cultural awareness and respect for one's clients, different cultures and customs, social workers can best support their clients' unique needs. What we're saying here is that people differ in terms of their background, their ethnicity, their upbringing, their socioeconomic condition, among others. And all the differences might shape the kind of attitude people have towards issues, might also shape the extent to which we respond to the kind of support and services that such individuals receive from social workers. So an awareness that people differ and an awareness that these differences might have an impact on the success of the interventions that social workers might put forward, it becomes quite important for social workers so that this cultural competence enables social workers to appreciate the different circumstances that individuals find themselves and to ensure that the approach they develop towards meeting the needs or understanding the needs of different individuals is based on the circumstances that these people are. What works in one social-cultural setting might not work in another setting. What causes a problem in one social-cultural setting might not cause the same problems in another social cultural setting. Therefore, awareness that people's different circumstances can enhance or hinder understanding of their needs and the interventions proposed by social workers becomes important, so that we treat individuals based on their cultural origin, socioeconomic condition, ethnic background, and even social backgrounds. And that information can enable us to approach different individuals differently, so that solutions that we suggest is tailor-made to fit the needs and circumstances of different individuals that we offer to assist and support to overcome their situation. The other important skill that social workers should possess is what we call collaboration. Collaboration. Collaboration, we mean the process of two or more people or entities, organizations working together to complete a task or achieve a goal. Social workers work with other professionals and agencies in their desire to provide comprehensive support. Social workers also work with individuals who work in related environments, such as community centers, healthcare clinics, and even government agencies. And working with other stakeholders enables social workers to provide a more integrated approach to helping individuals and their communities. Social workers should have the ability to build trust, manage conflicts, and achieve better outcomes in teamwork. And some of the collaboration skills include communication, adaptability, active listening, and problem solving. I wish to emphasize why collaboration becomes important. We have observed that the success that the field of social work has other players. For instance, the issues being faced by a client might stem from the inability of various players to play their rightful role. Take the case of drug abuse. We have policymakers that are in charge of enacting policies that regulate the use and consumption of drugs. Availability of these drugs without the outside the licensing procedures might see the need for social workers to engage policymakers. There are also outlets where these drugs, whether legal or illegal drugs, are found. Again, the dealers becomes quite important. Social workers also have friends, and the intervention of their friends in one way or the other could also either undermine or enhance the kind of interventions that might be put forward. Again, social workers come from families. The families they come from might also help in terms of reinforcing and ensuring that solutions that have been offered by social workers are adhered to. Again, social workers also have professional colleagues. There are instances where, for instance, drug abuse might require the intervention of a medical doctor. In that case, therefore, in an effort to support, say, a drug addict to come out of the drug, then it means that several players must come on board. So collaboration becomes quite important, because it is difficult for a social worker to succeed when other players are not brought on board. There are things the government might be required to do in terms of ensuring that policies that regulate the use of drugs are completely adhered to. There are areas where doctors might be required to come in. There are areas where where individuals that are addicted to drugs come in, their support. might also be needed. Again, social workers, there are certain challenges that they may face that might call for them to work together with other professional social workers. So collaboration becomes quite important. And that is why we're saying that ability to engage others for purposes of finding a lasting solution to the problems facing society and to the problems facing individuals becomes quite important. And that is why collaboration as a skill becomes essential for social workers. The other important skill that social workers need to possess is what we call problem solving skills. And problem solving skill involves identifying the problem, analyzing its root causes, developing and evaluating potential solutions, selecting the best option, implementing it, and then evaluating the results to ensure effectiveness. Problem solving skills involve the ability to identify problems, analyze them, generate potential solutions, and implement the most effective one. These skills are crucial in social work practice because social workers often face complex problems in the course of their work. For example, each client's needs and challenges are different, which requires social workers to act as a personal coach, helping the client describe a problem and what they would like to change. So all this becomes quite essential for social workers. So from time to time, social workers would face problems that require them to solve. The clients they deal with might have diverse issues, so many issues, some are contradictory, and therefore it becomes the duty of social workers to help those clients overcome those problems. So social workers must have problem solving skills because the work of a social worker, the primary duty of a social worker is to solve problems, whether these problems are at the policy level, whether these problems are at the society level, or whether these problems are at individual level. It is still problem solving skills, and it is their duty to ensure that they help as much as they can. The other important skill that social workers need to possess is what we call time management skills. Time management skills. Social workers handle multiple cases and administrative tasks simultaneously, which makes time management skill an essential part of their daily routine. Time management skill is the skill of planning and controlling how time is spent on specific activities to enhance efficiency and productivity. It involves organizing and prioritizing tasks to achieve goals and and balance personal and professional commitments. Effective time management skills allow social workers to make the most of their time, improve their focus, and build confidence given their busy work schedules. So effective time management skills involve a range of skills that help individuals prioritize tasks, plan activities, and optimize their use of time. I have to emphasize here that social worker may be called upon to attend to administrative, to attend to the needs of clients, to attend to the needs or requirements of policymakers. The extent to which a social worker succeeds in doing this requires him or her to have or to use the time available better and productively. The clients that they deal with also have other tasks that they do. So if, for instance, you plan a meeting to take off at 2, it is important that that meeting has to take place at 2, so that we don't have cases where clients come for services and social worker are as late as by 2 hours. Such lateness might actually undermine the process and also and also lead to the development of negative attitudes by clients to other social workers. So it is important for social workers at all times to properly utilize the time they have and to ensure that they attend to the issues promptly and also use the client's time in a manner that clients do not feel that they're wasted. The other important skill that social workers should possess is what we call advocacy skills. Advocacy is a powerful tool for bringing about positive change and empowering individuals to overcome challenges in their lives. Advocacy is an activity by any individual or group that aims to influence decisions within political, economic, and social institutions. They achieve this by working with other stakeholders, such as local government agencies, community health centers, and among others, to support services, to support service programs. Social workers should cultivate communication and interpersonal skills that will help them affect real change at the local, state, as well as federal levels. Key advocacy skills that are essential to social workers include strong communication, both oral and written, research and analysis, relationship building, and the ability to negotiate and compromise. These are essential skills. Remember, when we were looking at social work specializations, we said that some of the individuals that are trained as social workers might become social advocates. And in this case, therefore, it means that once they have identified problems that individual and society face, and they have looked at it and seen that there is need to influence changes at governmental level on how things are done, then such issues are transformed into advocacy issues. And in the process, the social workers must engage different institutions, political, economic, and even social, to ensure that they are brought on board to buy their ideas and to convince them to come up with the legislations, regulations, and laws that enables the entrenching of certain issues into societal governing instruments or structures, if that would be would be a more effective way of dealing with the problem. So advocacy becomes an important issue that social workers quite often meet. And for that reason, it's expected of social workers to also possess strong advocacy skills. The other important skill that social workers need to have, and which is the last one for purposes of a discussion, is what we call the social awareness skill. Social awareness is the ability to understand and recognize your own thoughts, feelings, behaviors, and how they impact yourself and others. It enables individuals to identify their strengths and weaknesses and understand the impact of their actions on their environment. Self-awareness can help social workers realize when they need to take a break or set some boundaries. And this practice can help social workers do their best and work for and with their clients. So this also becomes an important issue that social workers, an important skill that social workers need to perform. How much do we know about ourselves? What are the issues that gives us stress? How much strength do we have? How much emotional feelings can we accommodate? What are the limits beyond which we reach breaking points? All these things individual social workers need to have so that they do not overstretch or engage on issues that will plunge them into stress and depression, and in the process become more problematic than even the clients that they are seeking to advise. So those are some of the skills. Those are the major ones. I'm not saying that they are the only ones, but those are the major forms of skills that social workers need to perform. I want to thank you for your time and for listening. Thank you.